a.m. on Monday. Audubon Road will not have traffic continuously through Friday, May 23rd between Hunt Road and Little Swickley Creek Road. The detours for traffic can be found on our website at beavercountyradio.com. PennDOT District 11 also announced that beginning on Monday, May 12th, weather permitting, culvert replacement work will occur in Moon Township. At around 7 a.m. that morning, culverts will start to be replaced over Meeks Run on Ewing Road. Through the middle of July, Ewing Road will not have traffic at the culvert between Batesinger Road and Coriopolis Heights Road. Detours for traffic will be on Beaver Grade Road, Coriopolis Heights Road, and Ewing Road.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Sunshine expected throughout the day. We'll see a high near 61. Clear skies and a little on the chilly side tonight. Be aware that there will be a frost advisory in effect through the overnight as we'll drop down to a low around 38. Sunshine tomorrow. Look for a high near 71 and a low around 46. And another lovely day in the forecast for Sunday with mostly sunny skies. We'll see highs near 74 and lows around 53. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
That's a look at the news for now. I'm Noah Haswell on 99.3 FM, AM 1230 WBVP, 95.7 FM, and 1460 AM WMBA, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Welcome to Live Mike with Mike Romigh. This is the show that talks about what's happening in Beaver County. Noah Haswell will have news at the top and bottom of each hour. Now, here is the host of the show, Mike Romigh.
Like a kid in a candy store. That's what I'm talking about. Steve Higgins here from the Larry Bruno Foundation. Good morning, Steve. Good to see you once again.
How are you?
I'm doing well. We let you sleep in now on this show. We don't get you up as early in the morning.
I know. I feel different. I feel funny being in here late.
You got too much to do in the morning, and then by the time 11 o'clock rolls around, it's like I'm tired.
I have to be careful that I don't wake up and then fall back to sleep again. Yeah. So I'm like, I keep moving around so I don't sit down and fall back to sleep before I come back. I have to come in at 11.
That's good to hear because I thought I was the only one who takes a nap in the afternoon. With the Larry Bruno Foundation, and I pulled out something this morning about your golf outing that's coming up at the end of the month, May 30th, correct?
Mike, we're getting so excited. The foursomes are starting to finally roll in. It was a little slow, and we were a little concerned, but the foursomes are starting to come in. It's going to be at Beaver Valley on May 30th. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, they put on a heck of a show up there. The Italian buffet after, because I don't golf, I work the event, and I just look forward to eating afterwards because it's so delicious. I don't know who the chef is up there, but he's really good, and the food's good, and they treat us all well, and it's May 30th, and we encourage people. Ed DeRose, his phone number is 412-298-1430, and call Eddie and go on our Facebook page, and there's information on there as well. And we want to see everyone out there golfing. May 30th. May
30th. So there's still time to get a foursome in. Or even if maybe there's a couple of people out there in a twosome or a threesome and they need a fourth, maybe somebody can just go in as a single?
Oh, sure.
And join a team?
Sure. We could hook you up, or we could help you with that.
Okay.
Yeah, we could, if there's someone that's already there, we definitely will, encourage that.
All right. Very good. That's the Larry Bruno Foundation. And proceeds from these events, they go towards the museum.
Everything goes towards, the foundation as a whole, because we have our scholarship program. Right. We have our museum. It's basically our two big things that we support. But it helps us because, when we have our banquet, Mike, and some of our events there's expenses up front that we have to pay. And the money's there. We use the money for all of our events, and everything goes back to the public. In the long run, everything goes back into the public.
Yeah. Steve Higgins from the Larry Bruno Foundation. Now, Steve, I'm on Facebook, and so I went to Marketplace, which I just peruse every once in a while, see what's on Marketplace. And, being born and raised and growing up in Beaver Falls, of course, we're Joe Namath fans. Joe could do no wrong if you grow up in Beaver Falls. I don't know anybody who said a bad word about him. We still hold love in our hearts for Joe Namath. So besides, being a big fan and an admirer for so many years, I also enjoy old big cars. And so I'm on Facebook Marketplace, and I see this post, and it's like a 1979 Cadillac Coupe de Ville, and it says Joe Namath's car. And I had to press it on because he's got memorabilia like I've never seen before. And I called him, introduce our guest, because he told me that he knew you when he was in Beaver.
Ed Pfab is our guest today. And Ed is known for, he's retired right now, but he was in business in Beaver for many years. And Ed had the best oil change in the county, bar none. Great business. And that's how Ed and I first met, because that's where I took my car. And as I'm waiting in the waiting room, I'm looking on the walls and I'm seeing all this Joe Namath stuff, okay? So after a few visits...
In a garage.
Yeah, in the garage, in
yeah.
the waiting room, okay? So after a few visits down there, I finally... Ed's very busy, of course. I finally had a chance to ask him about it, and he was so gracious and started talking to me about Joe and how he was a big Joe fan. And one thing led to another. And then we started with the foundation with the banquets, and I says, well, Ed would be great, so he supported us. I think Ed came to 2 or 3 of our banquets. He bought tickets and programs, and right down the line, he was great supporting the foundation. But we had that thing in common that was our love for Joe. And then when he told me some of the stuff that he had even back then, including the car, I was definitely very interested.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I still have Ed, did you make that board?
Oh, yeah.
He actually made
cornhole
boards.
Oh, yeah?
Joe Namath sets, okay? And he'll have to refresh us on what happened, but he gave me one. And I'm pretty sure he might have gave Joe one, or he showed Joe one.
Wow, there it is.
In one of the banquets.
To
Yeah, there's a picture of it, and Joe actually that's it. It's coming back to me, Eddie. Joe autographed them at the event, and Eddie was kind enough to give me one as a gift, and I still have it, and I cherish it.
Yeah.
And
your grandsons aren't playing cornhole with it?
No, not that one, not that one.
That's
but when I found out that Ed was available to come on the show today, I was really excited. So I'd like to introduce everybody to Ed, and he's a Namath collector and just an all-around good guy.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And if you're watching, we're streaming this on Facebook Live, so I just showed the picture that Steve was talking about there out of Ed's collection. Ed, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Are you a Beaver County guy?
No, I grew up in Millville.
Okay.
And I opened up a business in Beaver in November of 1990, and that's how I got to meet Steve, by being in Beaver. And Joe Namath, I knew him growing up as a player, and I just started collecting Joe Namath.
Yeah, and people who are watching this on Facebook Live will see that you're all decked out in Jets paraphernalia there.
Yeah, I wanted to put us in the mood today.
Yeah. So you've met Joe on a number of occasions?
I have, and he's been very, very nice to me and my wife. And he's just a great guy.
How did you first meet him? Did you say, hey, I've got all this stuff, Joe, you want to come down and take a look at it?
No. Well, the one time I met him, I went to the meet and greet at the golf course, and I was parking the Cadillac. I took the Cadillac to the event, and
that was the Larry Bruno event.
Yeah.
I was looking to make sure I had it backed in right, and Joe and Frank Namath pulled up, and I saw them pass, and as I walked over to say hi to Frank, because I knew Frank, he was my insurance man, and Joe comes up and he says, you have Herbie. and I didn't. I says, what do you mean, Joe? And he says, Herbie. That's Herbie, the car. And he said, my daughters and I, we named the car Herbie after the Disney character Herbie in the movies.
Oh, that was a Beetle, wasn't it?
Herbie Lovebug.
Yes, it was. But they called the Cadillac Herbie, which it's a little bigger Herbie.
Okay.
And
Now, where did you get the Cadillac? I wish I had a picture of it here. I know. Do you have a picture of it over there?
Yeah.
I'll put it up in front of the screen here.
Joe gave it to his nephew, Frank Namath Jr., And my partner in the business, Rick Myers, he bought the car, and he was going to sell it.
Yeah.
And the fellow that was going to buy it was going to use it as an everyday car, and I just hated to see the car go that way. I felt the car was special. Not only is it a classic itself, a '79 Cadillac Coupe de Ville, but owned by Joe Namath, it just made it special to me, and I didn't want to see it being used and destroyed, in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Did Joe tell you any stories about the car when he owned it?
Only that, he and the daughters called it Herbie.
Okay.
And, that was about it. He said he saw it another time when I had the car there. He said, I saw the car in the lot. And
So he recognized it when he seen it.
oh, yeah, he knew the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised. What years did he own it? Because I didn't think he had daughters back in the late '70s at that time.
Well, he bought the car new in '79, and he kept it for 14 years.
Oh, okay. Down in Florida, obviously.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it was titled in Florida, and he put 82,000 miles on it before he gave it to his nephew.
Okay.
And it's got 99,000 on it now.
Ah,
Oh, okay.
very good. Because you've been driving it.
Yeah, he drove it,
Yeah.
and I understand his father was living in Florida with him at times, and he drove it also.
Oh, okay.
But when Joe would come back into Florida, he would drive.
You take over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. And did he ever share with you anything about the car besides the daughters calling it Herbie?
No.
Did he ever drive Raquel Welch around in it, or Joey Heatherton?
Is there any DNA of Raquel Welch in that car?
not that I'm aware of. But he had told, I guess, his nephew that he had gotten rid of the car because his wife at the time, the car did not have airbags. And she didn't want the children riding in the car, the older car, without the airbags.
That was a tank. It would have protected them anyway.
Probably.
Right?
Yeah.
And you drove it for a while?
Oh, yeah. I've driven it to car shows to and from Beaver, for maintenance and whatever. And
Well, we have car shows up here once a month in the summer times.
Yeah.
So you can bring it up here anytime you want.
yeah, I've been to the Beaver car show.
Oh, have
with
you?
It. Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of having the memorabilia of the car, and the reason I saw it was because of Marketplace on Facebook, which means you're trying to sell it.
Yes, I bought the car with the intention of restoring it. I bought the car 30 years ago. I haven't restored it yet.
Yeah.
Getting older, I would like to see the car purchased and restored and possibly put in a museum or, some collector that would keep it indefinitely as a tribute to Joe.
Okay, did everyone hear that?
I heard that.
You
Steve,
see
I
my
was
ears
thinking,
perk
yeah,
up. Okay,
yeah.
if anybody would like to purchase the car, we could find a showroom for it in our Hall of Achievement.
You might, yeah. And because,
that's where it belongs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. No, I don't know if I'd put it in a window up front, though. But, down the road from you at the Buick shop and the Oldsmobile place on 19th Street, they had a place where you could drive the vehicles in, and they had elevators that take them from the showroom floor out the door. So, you could get some people to
That'd
work
be
on
nice.
that.
Oh, that would be awesome to have at the museum. Can you imagine that? Having Joe's
Everybody want
caddy?
to sit in it. Overall. So, so it's you have it on the market, basically.
Right.
And a collector is definitely somebody who'd want to buy that.
Again, I'd love to see it restored and retained. I mean, I really not interested in selling it to somebody that's going to just drive it, and it needs restored. It's in nice condition, but it should be perfect.
Yeah. And when you say that, I'm thinking about the leather seats probably worn a little bit.
Well, the leather seats have been
have been
finished with vinyl replacement.
Okay.
It looks the same.
Yeah.
But it's not leather. But the car body is the car should be cleaned up, painted,
Yeah. So now, I don't know, Steve, if your mind's going wild here, I'm trying to think. I know anybody? I do know a guy, and he does this as a business, and it's he's with the Cruising on the Ridge, and he's Pennsylvania Hot Rod. And he's in Beaver Falls, as a matter of fact, and he redoes a lot of classic vehicles. Yeah, Dave is his name, and perhaps that's something that they would be interested in doing. Yeah.
Well, anytime we're representing a museum, we want people to donate everything.
Right.
Because we don't have a lot of money to spend. But wouldn't that be nice if someone would donate their time to restore it for us?
Yeah.
You know, just as a
steel and chrome and everything that goes along with a car of that age.
Yeah, well, he drove it for 82,000. It's got 99 on it. It's
See, people have to realize how special that is, because Joe is, he's one in a million.
Right.
I mean, he's been retired for 60 years or like 50 some years almost, and he's still sought after as far as collectibles go. He signs so much, many autographs, but everything that he touches or anything related to Joe is really, as far as the, as the collectible industries go, is a premium.
Yeah.
Okay, his stuff's sought after by collectors all over the country, especially Pennsylvania, New York, and Alabama. Okay, those three states alone, there's thousands of Namath collectors that, that it's amazing that somebody that's an athlete that's played that long ago is still that highly desired.
And I'm holding up for the people who are watching on Facebook now, a VHS of Ann Margaret and Joe Namath and CC and Company. And we were talking about some of the other lovely ladies that Joe was around back in the day. Ann Margaret was another one.
Yeah, she might have taken a ride in that caddy.
Might have. But this is this memorabilia that you have here, Ed, a lot of things that nobody else has, or nobody else has seen.
Well, I just started collecting it and got different things, and I was looking for those movies, and so I ended up getting those on Facebook and so forth.
As a kid from Millville, what was it about Joe Namath that attracted you or appealed to you?
Unfortunately, when I was growing up, the Steelers weren't very good. And you had to have like a backup team to root for.
Yeah.
And I rooted for the Jets.
Okay.
And I was on summer camp in the Army Reserve in Watertown, New York, the year that he tore up his knee in an exhibition game making a tackle.
Yeah.
And I just, to try to make a tackle in an exhibition game, these guys today wouldn't do that.
No, run the other
George
direction.
Pickens wouldn't block during a game.
Yeah. That's why he's no longer a Steeler.
Right.
Steve, what else?
But he made a good point, because when he said the Steelers were really bad, I mean, those of us that have been around that long, my first football game was a Steeler game in the year after Jim Brown retired. I think it was 1967. I was 10 years old. My dad took me to my first Steeler game, and it was at Pitt Stadium where they played their home games, and it was against the Browns. And I remember Leroy Kelly was his replacement. But he's right. That's why Beaver Falls in Beaver County is almost like a jet haven south of New York because of Joe. A lot of people didn't follow the Steelers because they sucked. So they rooted for the Jets. And I was a Brown fan in the 60s. I actually liked Cleveland better than Pittsburgh. And it wasn't until I was in high school that the Steelers started, winning some games, and people started jumping on the Steeler bandwagon. But Ed's exactly right. Back in the 60s, there were more Jet fans or Brown fans around here than there were Steeler fans.
Right. And Steve, I'm holding up a picture now for the Facebook folks. That is a newspaper article, it looks like, or a magazine article. And there's Joe as an Alabama football player. and there's Bear Bryant beside him. And so you've been in that position before, but I'm holding it up a little higher because there's such a huge bandage and ice around that right knee of Joe Namath.
He originally hurt that in the game against NC State, Bama against NC State, and it was a big story around Beaver Falls that Tony Goldmont, Joe's friend and high school teammate, was the one that made the hit that hurt Joe, because Goldmont was a starter for NC State in their secondary for that game. But that's not true. Okay. He was on the team. And, he was there. He was on the field, but he didn't hit Joe and hurt his knee. Okay. I just want everybody to know that.
Very good. And on the back of this, it says, Mr. Big of the bonus baby war, because Joe signed for that lucrative contract that in professional football at the time, NFL, AFL, nobody had heard of that kind of money.
$400,000 for a superstar quarterback.
Yeah.
What a bargain.
Look at that. And this is all part of your possession, part of your collection of Joe Namath stuff.
Yeah, and Joe's also on the cover of Sports Illustrated years after he retired.
Not this one?
A lot of players are on the cover, but not years after they retire. And that goes back to what you were saying, that he's an icon.
Yeah.
He's, you think of pro football, who do you think of more than Joe Namath? Right,
that's been out of the game that long. Number one, he's the most well-known celebrity. When I say celebrity, I don't mean just athletes. I mean entertainer, or well-known athlete, entertainer, anybody that's in the public eye. He is more associated with his hometown than anybody. Okay, you figure Joe Namath, Beaver Falls, right?
Right.
I mean, the only other ones that come to mind are Frank Sinatra, Hoboken, Dean Martin, Steubenville. It's kind of associated. But Joe, I think, is way at the top. When everyone hears Beaver Falls, it's like cha-ching, Joe Namath.
Right.
Okay, so he's, and when people like you, you're going to be popular. And Joe has that personality that people just like him.
Yeah.
Without
a doubt. And it continues. That continues. Even young players today. I remember going to a couple of his golf outings when he used to raise money for the United Way around here. I think that was a Frank deal, too, that Frank got him involved with that. But at a couple golf courses around. And the younger players, Vinny Testaverde, Jim Kelly, all these guys wanted to be around him, and they came to his golf outings.
Without a doubt. I was lucky enough. My father-in-law was worked for Michael Baker, and they was a big contributor to United Way. And I got to go to one of the luncheons at Seven Oaks. I didn't get to golf, but it was one of the luncheons after. And just what you said, Mike, Vinny was there, Testaverde, Kozar was there, Jim Kick was there, old Steelers like Rocky Blyer was there, John Henry Johnson was there. And matter of fact, Joe's wife was there. I got to meet Joe's wife that day.
Okay.
But anyway, they're all standing there with a plate of food eating, watching Joe.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'll talk to a dead tree, right? So I go running up and I'm talking to these guys, Vinny and Bernie, and I'm asking them about Joe, like, you guys are Joe fans? And they're like, oh my God.
That's why they're all wearing the number 12.
They were just, every move that Joe made, they were just soaking it in, and they were just so excited to be near this guy. And I was like re-impressed, I'm thinking, wow,
And you didn't get any pictures of that day? No, you didn't think about that.
I really didn't.
Yeah.
Carmen Basilio was there,
Yeah.
the boxer, because I remember I sat right next to him.
Yeah.
And he's telling me stories about Joe back in New York, in the early Jet days when he first met Joe, up in New York and everything. Yeah. And
I think George Sauer was there as well. There was,
he might have been. Now, George, I remember when he came in for the banquet in '69.
Yeah.
People don't realize that when Joe came in for the banquet in '69 in the parade in Beaver Falls, that was May 24th, 1969, he brought Weeb Bank, Johnny Sample, Don Maynard, and George Sauer with him. And I could remember Sauer was the only one that was kind of quiet.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't want to talk. He kind of didn't want to be bothered, where Maynard was outgoing, Sample. And here, George actually retired after the 1970 season. He was disillusioned with pro football. He didn't like it. Mm-hmm. He was burned out, Mike. His dad was a big college coach and college scout, and Sauer grew up as a football his whole life. And by the time he got to the Jets, he was burned out. He retired. He could have had a long career.
Yeah. This is memorabilia from our guest, Ed Pfab, who is here, and he has Joe Namath's car. And I'm looking at this because I have a couple of these autographs as well, and he always personalized them. I don't even think he would sign them if he didn't put your name on them, because he didn't want people selling this stuff. Hey, Ed, we did it. We did it, pal. 116, 16-7. Jets, over the Colts. Stay well, Joe Namath, number 12.
Wow, that's a nice inscription.
Yeah.
His brother Frank took 2 Sports Illustrateds from me when he went to visit Joe in Florida, and he brought them back autographed for me.
Yeah.
And speaking of that golf outing, I have golf balls from that outing, and I have a golf towel from that outing.
Is that right? Yeah.
In my collection.
You know, what he just said really resonates. Frank.
Yeah.
Frank was so special. He really was. I mean, this is your brother. Now, let's backtrack it for a second. Mm-hmm. Frank was one of the best linemen that ever played for Beaver Falls. He played in 55 in an era where these guys didn't want personal attention. Because I asked Frank once, I said, Frank, you're one of the best linemen ever. He did not want to talk about himself. He says, Higgs, we played the game because we loved it. And that was it. Whatever happened, whatever came out after that just came out. But anyway, he got a full ride to Kentucky. This guy was a Division I. He had NFL aspirations at one time, Frank Namath. And then to have your little brother become Joe Namath,
right?
You figure, there's a lot of ways you can take that, right? But this Frank Namath guy, I'll tell you what, Joe could not have made it without him. He was Joe's wingman. He protected Joe. He would take Joe to events and just made sure Joe wasn't taken advantage of. He protected Joe. He, in a nice way, in a nice way.
He
was unbelievable. He was amazing.
He did all the setup work for Joe's golf outing, and Joe would come into town. Everything would be set up and ready to go because Frank Namath took care of all of that.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. He was a wonderful older brother for Joe, and when Frank died last year, it was, boy, did it take it out of Joe. It really hit him hard. Of course it would, but to have a brother like that, I think Joe was very lucky.
Yeah, and I knew of Frank as the gatekeeper. And I worked at KDKA, I worked here, I worked in Youngstown, and anytime I wanted to have Joe on the show, I had to go through Frank. I had to say, Frank, I'm doing this show here, around Super Bowl or something like that. Is there any possibility I could get Joe on? And so that's the only contact that I would ever have is through Frank to try and get Joe on a program. And he always came through, but he was the guy you had to talk to.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Joe took all the glory, and Frank did all the work.
Yeah, right.
Very good. We're talking with Steve Higgins from the Larry Bruno Foundation, and Ed Pfab, who is a collector and has a car and all kind of memorabilia. You're trying to sell it all in pieces, partials, or everything together?
If somebody pays the price of the car, I'll include the memorabilia. And I have the original vehicle registration for the car for Florida, which is titled to Namco Productions, Inc., care of 7 Bay Harbor, which is Joe's current address. Mm-hmm. And I also have Joe's driver's license, a paper driver's license that was left in the car. Mm-hmm. That is all included.
Yeah. Check this out, Steve. You ever see this?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Poor Joe, huh?
Yeah, he had a tough life, didn't he? But how do people get a hold of you if they want to do this, if they want to find out more about it? Do you want to give out a phone number, or would you rather just go through Steve and Steve can hand that on to anybody who calls at the Bruno Foundation?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Through the Bruno Foundation would be fine.
Okay.
If that's okay
That
with
way.
you.
Or
Sure,
they
I'll
can
be
check you
glad
out
to.
on Marketplace on Facebook, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
you can get the information that way. Now, what's this movie from? This is,
I'm not sure.
is
What
this
is
CC and Company?
No.
No?
That's one I don't have.
it? Yeah, which one is that, Ed? I'm not sure what movie that is.
No. That's Anne Margaret, though, isn't it?
No.
No.
Okay. They were all so
We'll
beautiful.
have to do
Just-
some research on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And we'll continue our conversation because I got to take a break. I could just talk without taking the breaks, but I got to take a break because we've got to pay the bills. What's this one? Bills. What's this one? It says sugar. It's Joe Namath in a tuxedo.
Oh, that's back in his Broadway days when
Okay.
he was in plays.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that he was a heck of an actor.
Yeah.
And look at him. He looks like a young John Travolta.
It does.
When we after you take your break and come back, I can tell you a story about his Broadway.
All right, let's do that. Steve Higgins, Ed Pfab. We're talking about the Larry Bruno Foundation and Joe Namath memorabilia. We can include your phone call, 843-1888 or 774-1888 on Beaver County Radio.
Have you ever wanted to work in radio? Well, now is your chance. St. Barnabas Broadcasting is a network of 11 radio stations, and we are looking for account executives to introduce St. Barnabas Broadcasting and digital media to new prospective clients and grow existing ones. Experience in sales is preferred. Interested prospective candidates can apply by sending their resume to fsparks@beavercountyradio.com or by calling 724-444-JOBS.
It's McDonald's and it's something new. Introducing McDonald's McCrispy Chicken Strips. Available in 3 or 4 pieces. Get it with a combo meal too and try their new creamy chili sauce. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Patriot Home Care is now hiring caregivers. Are you a caring and compassionate individual looking for a reliable income with benefits? Then call Patriot Home Care today. Benefits include health insurance, life insurance, paid vacation after 1 year, and 1.5 times hourly pay for overtime plus holiday hours. Patriot Home Care employees provide personal care, conversation and companionship, medication reminders, light housekeeping and laundry, meal preparation, and errands. Start your career in home care today and call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or apply online at patriothomecare.org.
Take me out to the mall. Baseball-themed Senior Day presented by Beaver County Office on Aging in the center at the mall on Wednesday, May 14th from 10 a.m. till noon inside the Beaver Valley Mall. T-shirt giveaway provided by premier sponsor Aetna Medicare Solutions. Vendors will be there to provide senior service information and answer questions. Coffee and donuts, compliments of Ameriprise Financial Services. Ice cream, compliments of Rivertown Advisors. Complimentary manicures, tech help, health screenings courtesy of Beaver County Career and Technology Center. Enjoy a stadium hot dog lunch from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Wear your baseball gear. You don't want to miss this day.
When accidents and injuries happen, you need the experience and insight of the legal team at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George. At Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George, they have the resources available to see your case from start to finish. Attorney Larry Kelly.
You know, at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George, we're big boys. We assume all the costs, and we don't expect you to pay a penny. Now, what happens is, if you go to trial and the verdict is not favorable, you don't owe us any fees, nor do you reimburse us the cost. Now, if we're successful, then you'll pay a fee and you'll reimburse us the cost from the recovery. That's the way we do it at LGKG, and that's the way we've done it forever.
For your initial consultation, call the law firm of Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George at 724-658-8535 or online at lgkg.com. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George, keeping promises for over 80 years.
Beaver County Radio proudly welcomes Fry Transportation to their family. You're listening to 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, live from the all-new Fry Transportation Studios.
What does J. Young Refuse and Industry and the Beaver County Humane Society have in common? They are both an integral and important part of Beaver County. The J. Young Refuse team of professional drivers consistently exceed safety and service throughout the day, while their customer service representatives take professionalism to the next level. Everyone at J. Young Refuse has a heart for animals, and they take pride in supporting Beaver County Radio's Pick of the Litter, as the Beaver County Humane Society supports people and pets in our community.
Put freedom in your future. Freedom United Federal Credit Union in Rochester.
Looking for an elevated dining experience with a lively bar atmosphere? Then Jackson's Restaurant and Bar in Monaca is your destination. Join Jackson's for Thursday Night Live, featuring top-notch local music. Jackson serves modern American cuisine with their fresh flair, perfect for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. For Mother's Day, honor Mom with a brunch that's as special as she is, with Jackson's stunning selections, including a carving station, build-your-own waffle bar, mimosas, and desserts. Located near the Beaver Valley Mall, adjacent to the Hilton Garden Inn, Jackson's event space is the perfect venue for weddings, bridal showers, or anniversaries. Visit jacksonsbeavercounty.com for details.
Before the game, when the captains had to walk out to the center of the field, I kind of went all the way back to Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania as a little boy, remembering watching Johnny Unitas on television, remember watching these Baltimore Colt players. And I'm walking with Johnny Sample, who I had seen run a touchdown back on a kickoff in a championship game in the NFL. It was like, holy cow, you know, we're here. And that was cool.
And there was nobody cooler than Joe Namath. It was him talking about the Super Bowls. And, you know, always never missed a beat to say Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. Never.
Right.
Always there. Ed Pfab is with us. Steve Higgins is with us from the Larry Bruno Foundation. We're talking about the Joe Namath memorabilia. And you've been holding on to this for quite a while, Ed.
30 years.
30 years now.
I've had the car indoor storage for 30 years and been collecting for 30 years. I enjoyed the items more when I had the business and I could display them.
Yeah.
Now they're in my basement and I see them, but nobody else does.
You from Beaver and Jim Tripodi. You know Jim Tripodi? He was a collectibles. I used to have a place in Beaver, right on the corner. Diamond Jim.
Okay, Diamond Jim.
Diamond Jim was his name. He's still a collectible. He does a lot of stuff online now. We had him on the program before, Steve, talking with Jim about all this kind of stuff. And do you want to say how much you're asking for this collection? It's up to you.
The car with everything that goes with it, $25,000.
$25,000. That's a 1979 Cadillac Coupe de Ville in pretty good shape.
82,000.
It needs restored.
Yeah.
You know,
but a lot of memorabilia, a lot of autographed stuff.
I've got a Joe Namath helmet autographed that's supposedly worth $800.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Okay.
Included in the. You know.
Yeah.
I hopefully somebody will get it that can display it and
Steve.
The foundation get it. You'd display it, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm going to actively try to find somebody to buy that thing for you. You know, I'm going to really try to see what we can work out because that would be great to have that available, even though if it's not, you know, property of the museum, available for occasional events.
Right.
Like in other words, if we have an event, we could say, hey, can you drive it down and park it and let people check it out, you know, things like that. That would be nice.
Yeah.
If you got it, Steve, you could maybe get Joe to sit in it and take a photograph of it.
Yeah. I'd rather have Ann Margaret sit in it. I mean, you know, I'd probably have to drive it to Florida, down to Joe's house, you know, because he won't come back up here. I don't think.
Well, tell him you'll drive him up. You'll chauffeur him up in his old car.
Yeah, that's it. I'll go pick him up and bring him up for the banquet.
Yeah. What's coming up for the Bruno Foundation? I know you have Ed Prince coming up on May 12th.
Yeah, Monday. We're really excited. You know, he's a nationally known author, and he's willing to give a talk, you know, a talk about baseball in the baby boomer era. Baby boomer baseball in the steel country is the name of his talk. And what's going to be unique about this event, Mike, is it's a 2-hour event. Now, Ed's only going to speak for 30 minutes. The rest of the time, people can tour the museum, enjoy some refreshments, things like that. But what's going to be unique about the event is there's going to be people in the crowd that are depicted in his book. In other words, he writes about playing Little League Baseball against Newcastle and Beaver Falls. Well, we invited 5 players that was on that Beaver Falls team. We're hoping that they all show up. But even if a couple of them show up, we'll be happy. But that'll make it kind of special because there'll be a little interaction there. But Ed is a wonderful speaker. a wonderful person, wonderful ambassador of our area.
Yep.
And we're so proud of him. And we're really excited. Now, that's Monday at 5. Now, that's open to the public. Anyone can come. It's a free event. If you do show up, maybe you might want to bring a couple extra dollars to buy one of Ed's books. He's going to have some books for sale. Mm-hmm. And these things are fantastic gifts. I mean, they're such good reads, these books.
Yeah.
You can't put them down.
Last Perfect Summer?
The Perfect Summer, and then The Last of the Rockland Boys are his two books that he's going to probably be referring to, during the talk. But we're really excited to have Ed down there. And, Mike, this is the kind of thing that people are going to expect from us in the future. This is what we're going to give to the public. I mean, we exist totally on donations, and everything we get goes back to the public. And these are the kind of events that we're going to have. We're going to have people come in that are meaningful to the community, that have made a difference in our community, and they're going to speak, and they're going to be available to help people. So that's just a small part of what we're going to offer when we open our doors full time in July. We're going to try to schedule at least 4 of these events every year.
And these are inspiring talks as well for not only people from the area, but especially the students and young athletes from all around Beaver County to hear about the successes that these folks had who used to sit in basically the same seats as you did in junior high school and high school and gone on to great things.
That's exactly right. Now, this is actually our second one. We had Candy Young last year, okay, and Candy Young was in town, and she says, hey, I'm available. We threw this thing together because, you have to have a little time to promote these things. Can't just open your doors. We want a few people to come in. And Candy, oh, my God, for example, my 2 grandsons, 12 and 10, were there, and I couldn't believe how into this they were. They were talking about Candy Young for weeks and weeks after that. Things that she had said and messages that she had conveyed. And those kids actually sat there and listened to her. She was so great. And after that, I says, you know what? This is what we have to do here at the museum. We have to do this a lot more because the public benefits from these kind of programs.
And do you have clips of that? I mean, like when Candy Young was running in high school or in college, do you show any of that?
Well, not yet, but we're going to. It's going to evolve into that. I watch a lot of C-SPAN, and I watch a lot of PCN, and I see how they do things. They have universities, they have guest speakers, and they're authors that write books and things like that. And I'm not real original, Mike, but I could copy the hell out of somebody. I mean, if I see something good,
that's what everybody does.
If I see something good, I could reproduce it, But I don't come up with too many original ideas. But if I see something I like the way that they present these shows at these universities, it's professionally done, it's uplifting, and it's something that I want, or not I, the foundation wants to offer to our community. And that's what we're going to do through these events. We're going to bring these amazing people in, like Ed, and make them available to our people.
Did I just see a post from the Bruno Foundation that you got some students from the Beaver County Christian Academy come down and help you out down there?
We give a scholarship every year to their school, so they reached out to us and said, hey, we have a program where our students are available to for work, kind of like the Boy Scouts do, and Tiger Paws and people like that.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is.
One of us is dinging, but I don't know which one.
But they asked if we needed any, if we could use them, and I'm like, of course.
Right.
So 3 kids came down. They had their mentor, a guy named Steve, who I found out actually works at Rolling Acres.
Oh, okay.
But he's there on the weekends, and I don't work weekends, so I never see him. But
you got seniority, that's why.
They came down and they cleaned. We put them to work. They mopped the floors. They swept. They took garbage out. They carried things that I needed carried upstairs that I couldn't do on my own. And a lot of guys on our board are older than me, so I'm not going to ask them for help.
Yeah.
But they were so helpful, and we made a connection with them, and now we're going to tap into that and they're going to send some more volunteers down that's going to help us with our inventory, entering it into our computer system.
That's all so helpful.
So so again, we want to be just like the big museums in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Great. The Larry Bruno Foundation. Ed, you have something else over there?
I wanted to ask Steve if he remembers when they were going to have the display at the library, and I loaned him some memorabilia. And one of the items I loaned him was a autographed Joe Namath football with his face painted on the football. And he tells me later, Joe and he were throwing it around in the library.
I had forgotten about that, Ed. Yeah. That's right.
My prized possession. I hope you didn't drop it.
When Joe wants to throw you a pass,
what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Drop it? No, but Ed was so nice to us. We were first starting out. We needed people like Ed because we didn't have anything.
Right.
I mean, again, this museum, I want to stress this. It's not just Beaver Falls. It's the whole county, okay? But the Beaver Falls people are the ones that have stepped up because that's who we know. We're there. So they're the first ones to take the step. I am so thrilled. I don't know if you've seen our Facebook page, but Babe Pirelli's nephew donated 2 Babe Pirelli items.
Yeah.
Mike, you don't realize how important this is to us because what this is he donated a football and a trophy that were his Uncle Babe's, okay? This represents an accusation from outside of Beaver Falls, okay?
Yeah.
A big
Rochester, right?
Rochester, from Rochester. That's what we want. We're hoping that people see this. We're hoping Aliquippa sees it, Monaca sees it, Freedom sees it, New Brighton, Beaver, and maybe step forward and some of these guys say, hey, here, I'll donate something. So now we're turning into a county entity.
Well, and it's important because, as you know, Monaca used to be Monaca and Center used to be Center. And then there's Central Valley. So memorabilia from Monaca in the day, Center in the day, New Brighton and Rochester are talking about maybe merging at some point in the not too distant future. So the Lions and the Rams, there's probably stuff there that will be a part of history.
Could make that extra special.
Right, because it's not there anymore.
Exactly.
As far as that, I was glad to hear that because I was holding my breath a little bit when Ed started talking about giving you some stuff because I thought he was going to say, and you never gave it back to me.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. He'd come after me.
And some of the other stuff that you get, because I know you get a lot more than you can put out at any particular time, but. People still donating. People still want to donate, and if they have stuff, whether it's from Beaver Falls or one of the other districts.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, that's our main thing. That's what we thrive on. We love the Beaver Falls stuff. We have most of its Beaver Falls stuff, but we want the whole county represented. Mike, there's 5 Hall of Famers from Beaver County in the NFL. I'd like to have a nice portrait of each one of them. Jimbo Covert, Law, Revis, Ditka, Namath, right down the line.
Dorsett?
So I don't want to forget him.
Yeah, right.
But we do have a section already in the museum. It's called our opponent section because all the opponents that played in Beaver Falls are amazing. I mean, from Richie Allen to Mike Ditka to Tony Dorsett to Babe Pirelli. I mean, Ken Griffey played here. Joe Montana played here. Josh Gibson played here. Satchel Paige played here. Wow. I mean, I can sit here for an hour and throw names at you that'll just blow you away that all have come to Beaver Falls and competed. So what that does is that opens the door for us. That gives us ammo.
No doubt.
We could display all this stuff. We could tell the stories how Beaver Falls was a baseball town back in the day of all these famous Hall of Famer, great athletes from these other towns that have come to our city. I remember Hannes Wagner used to love to talk about Beaver Falls. He had friends down here.
No kidding.
That he played baseball with.
That's great.
And
that's the thing. You wind Steve up. You wind him up, and then he just gets on a roll.
It's just like,
and I'm running
so
out of time
much
here, and I'm looking at the clock, and I'm like, we got to go, Steve.
Sorry, Mike. I get on a roll.
That's good.
But there's just so much, Mike. So many stories.
Larry Bruno Foundation. Steve Higgins. Monday is Ed Prince. You can go and listen to the talk at 5 o'clock, and wait for the grand opening. It's coming real soon.
Yes.
Right.
And thanks to Ed for
Ed
coming
Pfab,
on. Because Ed's
Pfab,
we love guys like Ed. because Ed's a big Joe Namath guy, and we all love Joe. And
I wouldn't have known that by his outfit today. Thank you, Ed. It was great meeting you.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
On Beaver County Radio.
Join a team that's been making a difference for over a century. St. Barnabas Health System is hiring full-time security